Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Bénédicte Legrand and I am Denomination Expert at the Community Plant Variety Office in France. I am particularly dealing with the plant variety denomination assessment in the framework of a cooperation service with the EU member states. But I will have the possibility during this presentation to tell you a little more about this cooperation service. So, today we are talking about the name of plant varieties, and to be more specific, about the role of a plant variety denomination in the frame of a community plant variety rights system. Maybe just a couple of things before we get started. As usual, you have the possibility to ask questions online. Please feel free to do it during this presentation. I will reply them at the end of the program. The second thing is that this is a recorded webinar and it will be available on the Academy Learning portal of the EUIPO as well as this presentation material. So let's go now with the presentation itself, and let's first have a look at the program today. So we will have a short introduction on the Community Plant Variety Protection System. This will be the occasion to dwell on the notion of plant varieties, and we will see the role and the importance of the denomination in that context. Then we will have a look at the legal framework, and we will focus on the Article 63 of the Council Regulation 2094 that govern the variety denominations, and we will see how the CPVO check the compliance of the proposed denominations with these rules. And finally, we will see how the Community Plant Variety Office contributes to the harmonization of the interpretation and the implementation of the rules. But let's first start with few words on the Community Plant Variety Protection System. As with trademarks and patents, the protection of research and creativity in the field of plant varieties is a strategic activity, as the breeders has to invest a lot of time and money in the creation of new varieties that meet the requirements of the market. So the Community Plant Variety Protection System was established in 1994 by the Council Regulation 2094, which is based on the 1991 version of the EUIPO Convention. EUIPO is the International Authority for the Protection of the New Plant Varieties. So this Council Regulation aims to encourage the creation of new plant varieties by providing a better intellectual property protection to the plant breeders. So this system is managed by the Community Plant Variety Office, known also as a CPVO, which is a self-financed EU agency based in Angers in France. The Community Plant Variety right gives the holder an exclusive right to market the protected variety within the territories of the European Union, and this right is valid for a period of maximum 25 years or 30 years for wines, potatoes and trees. And it must be said that since its creation in 1995, some figures for your information, the CPVO has received nearly 63,000 applications, of which it granted over 49,000 applications. There are currently 26,000 titles in force, and the office assesses about 11,000 variety denominations each year. So what are the main steps in plant variety protection? First of all, this is a voluntary approach of either individuals or companies. The procedures consist in the examination of the formal and substantive parts of the application and in the technical evaluation of the candidate variety. So to be granted a plant variety right, the variety must fulfill the so-called DUS criteria. It must be distinct, uniform, stable, and novel. And in addition to that, it must have a suitable variety denomination. So it is important here to mention that if a suitable variety denomination has not been submitted at the time when the office received the final technical examination report, the whole procedure should be refused, cancelled. But of course, it has never happened so far. Before going into the detail of plant variety denomination, let's have a few words about the plant variety itself. The plant kingdom has been classified in a ranking system containing many divisions and subdivisions, which are called taxonomic groups or also taxa. The most commonly used ranks in classification of plants are, in descending order, the plant kingdom, division, the class, the order, the family, the genus, the species, and at the latest rank, the variety. But in general, each species belongs to a genus, each genus belongs to a family, etc. Genus is a group of related plants, and the similarity among species within the same genus may or may be not obvious, but due to certain features, these plants are related and classified in the same genus. The rank of species is probably the most important because it is the basis from which the classification is constructed. This rank denotes a group of organisms sharing a long number of heritable characteristics which are reproductively isolated. The plant of different species such as tomato, potatoes, or eggplants cannot interbreed by natural means. However, it is clear that within a species there can be a wide range of different types of plants. A plant variety represents a more precisely defined group of plants selected from within a species with a common set of characteristics. In our example, we have 3 different eggplant varieties. They are of the same species, but as you can see, they show different characteristics. Some of them are obvious, for instance here the color and the shape, but some of them are less obvious. In the framework of plant breedings and the plant variety right system, each variety is the subject of a detailed description which is associated with a variety denomination. So the denomination is the unique identifier of the variety. Regarding the plant naming, the CPVO follows the rules and the recommendation of the International Code of Nomenclature for Cultivated Plants, the ICNCP, which is also known as the code. So a variety is given a variety name, which consists of the scientific or Latin botanical name, followed by a variety denomination. The Latin names are in italic. The variety denomination is enclosed by single quotes, and in case there is a trade designation, it must always be distinguished typographically. In our example, the full variety name of this rose is Rosa L. May Curtis, where Rosa is a genus name, L stands for Linnaeus, who is the author of the original botanical name, and May Curtis is the variety denomination. Of course, there is also here a trademark, Vanda. So, it should be noted that the Article 17 of the Basic Regulation makes the use of the variety denomination compulsory in respect of the offering for sale or the marketing of the propagating material of the variety. Therefore, in case the variety denomination is associated with a trademark, for instance, or a commercial name, the variety denomination must clearly be recognizable. Take, for example, the apple variety Pink Lady. The trademark is Pink Lady, but the varieties Crisp, Pink, Rosy Glow, or Sexy are commercialized or have been commercialized under that name. From that example, it is clear that the denomination of the plant variety only enable third parties to identify the variety. So, we have seen that a plant variety must have a suitable variety denomination, and we understand that there are specific rules that govern the plant variety denomination. So, let's have a look now at the legal framework. So, according to the provision of Article 63 of the Council Regulation 2194, a variety can be granted a community plant variety right if it is designated by a denomination. This article is interpreted by the CPVO guidelines, which are adopted by the Administrative Council of the Office, and that establish the criteria for determining the impediment to the generic designation of a variety denomination. In addition, the CPVO has developed explanatory notes, and the aim of both guidelines and explanatory notes is to clarify and to ease the application of the provisions. This Article 63 is also implemented in the Commission Regulation 63/2009, which establishes implementing rules as to the suitability of the variety denominations of agricultural plant species and vegetable species. Both are adopted at the same time, and this Commission Regulation 63/2009 concerns the varieties which enter the Common Catalogue. The Common Catalogue of varieties of agricultural plants and vegetable species lists the varieties which are authorized to be marketed within the EU. These varieties are published in the official journal of the European Union. So, whether varieties enter the common catalogues or applies for plant variety protection, the same set of rules applies, and the variety denomination must be the same in all registers. In addition, as it was already mentioned in our Pink Lady example, the use of the variety denomination is compulsory when the variety or its propagating material is sold. So let's have a look now at the detail of this Article 63, in particular dealing with the plant variety denomination. So the paragraph 2 states that a variety denomination is suitable if there is no impediment pursuant to paragraph 3 and 4 of this article. But what are these impediments? There is an impediment for the designation of a variety denomination where the use of this denomination is precluded by the prior right of a third party. The most commonly encountered examples of such a prior right is a registered trademarks, but it can also be a protected geographical indication, a protected designation of origin, and a plant patent. The CPVO gives the possibility to a prior right holder to assert his rights by publishing the denominations, but the CPVO does not refuse a denomination ex officio. However, the office always informs the applicant in case of an identical prior right. So, a denomination is not suitable if it is not recognizable as a denomination, if it is difficult to reproduce, or if it does not allow to identify a variety. So, denomination can be in the form of a code. In this case, it can consist in letters or in combination of letters and numbers, but it should not be longer than 10 characters. And if the denomination is in the form of a fancy name, it must consist in letters and be pronounceable. And it should not exceed 5 words or elements. An interesting point and important point here to underline is the notion of users here refers to professionals or specialists and not to the general public. Another condition is that the variety denomination must be easy to reproduce. In general, a variety denomination should not contain too many elements, should not contain punctuation marks, symbols, or figurative elements. It may be also difficult to reproduce if it consists of a combination of upper and lower cases, except when the first letter is in uppercase and the rest of the denomination is written in lower cases. Finally, a denomination may be difficult to identify as a variety denomination if it consists in one letter or one numeral only. So, as we have seen earlier, the function of the variety denomination is to identify a variety. Now, have a look at these three tomatoes. Are you able to identify the variety superior, the variety best, and the variety big? Probably not, because these denominations are purely descriptive. In fact, they only refer to characteristics that could be common to all of them. So as a rule, a denomination should not be descriptive and should not consist of a comparative or a superlative designation, as it does not allow to identify a variety in particular. The Article 63(3)b also considers that the Latin botanical name may not be recognizable as a denomination or may create confusion with other taxonomic rank. This is, for instance, the cases when you have a variety denomination Polygala, Africana for a variety of Polygala L, knowing that species Polygala africana should not exist. This is also the case for a variety denomination Triticum for a wheat variety, as Triticum is a genus name. A variety denomination should also not consist of a breeding or of a technical term unless this term is combined with one or several other words in such a way that the denomination has a complete different meaning. In our example, we see hybrid, maintenance, and sport. I'm thinking about sport in association with Café des Sports. If we have Café des Sports as a variety denomination, French speakers will understand the reference to a very common name of French café, and in this case the word sport refers to the physical activities and not with this breeding term. So we have seen a series of criteria which may render a denomination suitable or not. But even if a variety denomination fulfills these criteria, this is not sufficient to consider that the variety denomination is suitable. As a matter of fact, it must be checked if the denomination is not identical or similar to another variety denomination of a variety of the same or of a closely related species. So as a rule, a variety denomination that is strictly identical to another denomination of a variety of the same or of a closely related species is not suitable. Regarding the notion of confusion, it should be noted here that it concerns the visual, the phonetic, and the conceptual confusion. So they are assessed independently in order to conclude on the suitability of the variety denomination proposal in respect of the similarity. Similar or identical to a variety of the same or of a closely related species. What does that mean? So, two identical or similar denominations for varieties belonging to the same or to two closely related species are considered as potentially confusing. So, in general, species belonging to a genus are closely related. This notion of closely related species was developed by EUIPO, but it should be mentioned here that EUIPO has developed a set of exceptions to this rule, the so-called EUIPO classes, that group on the one hand species which, although belonging to the same genus, should not be considered as closely related. This is the case, for instance, for potato, tomato, eggplants. And group, on the other hand, species belonging to different genera, but that should still be considered as closely related, like petunia and calibrachoa, for instance. The Article 63C also clarifies variety denomination that are concerned by these rules. In particular, the variety denomination which have entered an official register of plants, the varieties that are or will be commercialized in the European Union, in a contracting party to EUPOF or to the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Also the variety, of course, which have been the subject of a plant variety right or are applying for such protection in these territories. The rules also clarify the situation of variety denominations that no longer remain in existence, or varieties that have acquired no special significance because they were registered for a very short period. So it should be noted here that although EUPOF discourages the reuse of a same variety denomination, the CPVO allows its reuse 10 years after the deletion of the registers and provided that the initial varieties is out of cultivation. So, in addition to the similarity aspect, certain terms which are commonly used in a commercial context and that could be applicable to plant varieties, or terms or expressions which contain an element that by virtue of legislation is not to be used for other purposes than those envisaged by this legislation, can constitute an impediment to the suitability of a variety denomination. This is the case, for instance, for terms that refer to existing currencies, like euro, to weight and measures, like kilo or caliber, or terms of which use is strictly governed by a specific legislation like bio or eco. This is also the case for offensive words or expressions that are contrary to public policy. Finally, a variety denomination should not be misleading or should not create confusion. This is the case when the denomination gives the false impression concerning the value or of the characteristics of the variety. For instance, a denomination early bird for a late variety is not suitable because it is considered as misleading. A denomination blue star for a red flower is not acceptable because the color is a relevant characteristic in ornamental sector. However, the denomination is acceptable for a wet variety as the color is not of relevance for that species. A denomination can also create confusion when it contains the botanical name of another species in the same crop sector. This is the case, for instance, with lilac beauty for a wisteria variety, which is not suitable because lilac is the common name of syringa, which is another species in the same ornamental crop sector. A denomination can also be considered as misleading when it suggests that the variety has a biologic relation with another existing variety of the same species. This is the case, for instance, when a breeder proposes a variety denomination dark secret for his Lilium variety, but a variety of the same species secret from another breeder already exists. By simply adding the word dark to the existing denomination, the breeder could be considered as taking an unfair profit of the existing variety denomination. That unfair benefit is not relevant if the two varieties are, of course, of the same breeder, or if the two varieties have a biologic relation together, or if several breeders have already used the word secret in the denominations of varieties which are not related. This false impression can also be linked to the identity of the breeder. This is a case, for instance, when a breeder uses the identifier of another company in his variety denomination. In our example, the breeder DEF is the title holder of the variety ABC Ambition, where ABC is the licensee of the variety but is not the successor in title. The use of another company name in a variety denomination which is not the breeder may create confusions as to the origin of the variety and its breeder. This is also the case when he uses a word which already identifies a series of variety denomination from another breeder. For example, if a breeder A already possesses a series of varieties Samba Peixo, Samba Pleasure and Samba Delight, another breeder cannot use a denomination Samba Treasure for a variety of the same species, as it would create confusion as to the identity of the variety and of the breeder. So, to put in a nutshell, a variety denomination should be recognizable and should allow to identify the variety. It should not be precluded by a prior right. It should not be identical or similar to the other denomination in the same EUIPO class. It should not refer to designation that must be kept free under other legislations. And the denomination should not give offense or be contrary to public policy. Finally, it should not be misleading or create confusion. So once those principles are set, how can we check that the proposed denomination fulfills these criteria? The CPVO Variety Finder database is an essential tool to check the similarity criteria. This database is accessible via the CPVO website and only requires the creation of an account with a name, username and a password. The Variety Finders offers a range of services and information on plant varieties and includes a search tool and a similarity testing tool. This database is updated daily and contains data from official registers like plant breeders' rights registers, national lists, but also commercial registers, EU trademarks and plant patent registers from EU member states and EUIPO countries. Each year, the CPVO received nearly 400 contributions from 60 contributors. The database contains more 1 million records, and the CPVO puts great effort in the quality check of the data and in the development of Variety Finder. The users of the Variety Finder make a great use of the search tool, which allows general searches on the content of the database in a very simple way, using a certain number of criteria. The search tool may be used as a complement of the similarity testing tool, which is primarily used to test the similarity between the variety denominations. The similarity testing tool is also designed to display identical or similar EU trademarks of NIS Class 31. Variety denomination and EU trademarks are displayed in two separate lists. So with a simple click on the similar entry in the list, you can access the detail of a variety or of EU trademark, which are displayed then in a separate datasheet. In the case of a plant variety, key information help the examiner in deciding if this variety should be taken into account in his analysis. For instance, where is the variety registered? What is the type of register? Is it a plant breeder, national listing or plant patent? What is the status of the variety? Is it an application? Is the variety already registered, or has the variety been withdrawn from that register? When was it registered? But also, in the case of several denomination proposal, what is the final variety denomination that has been accepted at the end? So, as you will have understood, the variety finder is a first step and a key tool that helps CPVO examiners in the testing of the similarity. But as we have seen earlier, the similarity is only one of the aspects covered by the regulation. So the examiner must then analyze the test results in the light of the other criteria. This means that the final decision is not, as so to speak, a computer decision. The decision remains always with the examiner, who has the possibility to consult the Committee on Variety Denomination in case of doubt. How can we ensure consistency in the other procedures? How to ensure that the Article 63 is interpreted and implemented in the same way? Do you remember the pink lady example? We explained that several varieties are commercialized under that trademark, and that the variety denomination is the unique identifier of the variety. We also explained that on the basis of the EUIPO principle, one variety, one denomination, the variety denomination should be the same in all registers. In other terms, synonyms should be avoided. However, the Article 63.4 of the CPVO Basic Regulation foresees situations where the office is compelled to create a synonym. In such case, the CPVO informs all concerned parties. On the same principle, if the office detects a synonym in another register, it sends an observation to the relevant authorities. However, the experience has shown in the past that the EU member states can have a different interpretation of the Article 63 and of the guidelines, even with the explanatory notes, leading sometimes to different decision on variety denomination proposals. So, in 2010, the CPVO developed a cooperation service on variety denomination testing with the purpose to harmonize within the EU the implementation of the rules as to the suitability of the variety denomination. This service gives member states the possibility to ask the advice of the CPVO on the suitability of the official proposal they received in the framework of a national listing of plant breeders' rights. This is an online service, and the consultation should be made before official national publication. This means that the proposed denomination enter the variety finder and appear in all subsequent tests for similarities in the database before they are published at national level. This is also a way to inform beforehand on the upcoming publication of a variety denomination at national level, and to avoid that two similar or identical denominations for varieties of the same or of a closely related species are accepted by two different national authorities at the same or almost the same time. So, to conclude on this topic, one should bear in mind that the object of a community plant variety right is the plant variety, not the denomination. The denomination identifies one particular variety, not only during the period of the protection of that variety, but also after the expiration of that protection. So the breeders often use both a plant variety protection and a trademark, and the CPVO and EUIPO closely cooperate in the field of the interface between variety denomination and EU trademarks, following the recent implementation by the EUIPO of the new absolute ground for refusal of trademark application given it may result in conflict between trademarks and variety denominations. So I think that everything was clear to you. I don't see any question, but there is still possibility for you to consult either the CPVO website in order to get more information. You can also access to the Variety Finder database. Just click on the link we have provided on this slide. And of course, if you have any question after this presentation, you can send me an email. It was a real pleasure being with you today. So thank you very much for your attention, and see you. Bye-bye.